Hey everybody, my name is Luke and I'm the founder of Pixels. I wear the CEO and the CTO hat at Pixels, and I'm really excited to present this to all of you. So at Pixels, what we're doing is we're building out the next generation of casual gaming, and we actually see Web3 as kind of the new network or platform that will power the next generation of games, really similar to how games like Farmville by Zynga capture the world's attention by utilizing new technologies. We see that Web3 is kind of going to be the next generation of games that power the growth and power new channels of interesting things that games can do essentially. So if you haven't played the game, Pixels is a social browser game. We're a game that's actually really similar to some of these early games that grew on Facebook, like Farmville. We took the most inspiration from this game called Stardew Valley. But yeah, you can basically play the game right now in browser. You don't need to download anything. And the game loop is a really simple game loop. It's basically built around gathering resources, collecting them, and customizing out spaces. One interesting note, though, is we've been taking a retention first approach to building out our game, and we've been basically hyper optimizing that since we released it back in November 2022. And our games retention is actually sitting at like relatively good retention for Web 2 games before we've added any of the Web 3 aspects into it. Our day 1 retention is 37%, day 7, 27, day 30 is 4.37%, our day 60 retention is 2%, which if you benchmark us to Web 2 games in browser, we're actually sitting at higher end of retention metrics, basically meaning that our game is objectively good. If you want to benchmark it against metrics that most investors in the space would benchmark, Web 2 game metrics at. So yeah, our core thesis was make a game that's really fun, that we can start to grow with, and then we've been really interested in what Web3 can bring in terms of growth. So Pixels, and these numbers are actually kind of old now, has onboarded actually over 1 million users into Web3 at this point. We have over 200,000 monthly active wallets. We've been the number one DApp on Polygon. We have, unlocked some really interesting partnerships over the last year because of this growth. And we've done all of this in only $5,000 of user acquisition. We have done all of our growth organically and with Web3 incentive design. And this is kind of where we see the benefits of Web3 really coming in. Web3 can help games grow in ways that you actually couldn't do in Web 2. We see basically 3 main areas that Web3 really drives growth in: through ownership, through incentive design, and interoperability. Through ownership, what we see is there's a large increase in retention, even when people own NFTs that we didn't release. Owners of our own NFT have over 100% increase in retention. We also see really low CAC with our token incentives. We did a bunch of experiments in October that led to a ton of growth, and we saw things like referral systems, sharing to Twitter, and incentives around that spread our game and increase our K factor to over 1 without any customer acquisition spend. And then we love interoperability at Pixels. It's a whole new growth channel that Web3 unlocks that we've taken a huge advantage of. We've worked with over 70 NFT projects in the space to build out new growth channels and to build out user acquisition that kind of grows itself. So at Pixels, what we really think is, we think from a content first lens. We've been experimenting in basically 2 angles: interoperability and using interoperability to drive content and engagement in our ecosystem. We started off by building our own game, the Pixels game, which is Farmland. We've also been really interested in exploring other experiences built around other IP. This is one of the key unlocks in Web3. We have released 3 games at this point. We released a game called New Cyber. We released a game with Tastemakers. We've done over 70 NFT integrations into our game. We've also been experimenting with ERC20 integrations as well. But the whole idea is we really want interoperability to drive content and to drive experiences into an ecosystem that we're building. We really view what we're building as a full stack Web3 experience and a platform. So Tastemakers is an experiment that we ran with a company called Forge. It's a subsidiary of Animoca Brands. This experiment, we ran it for 28 days, had some really awesome engagement with it. And the cool thing about this is we didn't pour any user acquisition spend into this experiment. Since we leveraged their IP, since we leveraged their ecosystem, they were incentivized to do all their own user acquisition. This challenge that we ran for 28 days had over 4 million impressions on social, over 13,000 hours of engagement with our users, 45,000 players checked in, and they had this objective of making burgers. They made over 1 million burgers in this experiment that we did. That's, if you play the game, it would be impressive sounding to you. I trust me on that one. But yeah, the key thing that we're doing here and what we're really excited about Web3 is we're really excited about essentially using Web3 to drive network growth. So what we're trying to do here with token incentives, with interoperability, and then tools that we're also providing our users is we want to create a network that grows itself. Our core tech we built, yes, we built a good game, but it really involves all the other aspects of Web3 that essentially allows us to grow an ecosystem and create an ecosystem that grows itself with good incentive design, tools, and content. And really the games that we have built right now are just kind of a way to bootstrap this initial network. But yeah, the things that we're most interested in are on the Web3 side of things. And that's where we get our technical advantage, our competitive advantage against Web2 games and studios, focusing on this, the network effects. So how we view tokens is we view them as funnels towards a cash flowing business. And it creates a really good incentive alignment between us, our equity business, and the token, where if we use a token to increase our user base, to increase engagement, to increase retention, to increase DAU, then we can use that token to funnel towards areas that help the equity business. So basically, I kind of like to view tokens as a budget that we get every single month for, basically good behavior that we want to incentivize in the ecosystem. And we get to use this budget to grow the ecosystem and grow the network in ways that helps us too. So essentially, if we start to build out top of funnel towards our program like memberships or other things that help our equity side of the business, we have this great aligned incentive where basically a healthier token leads to a better business for us. So we're incentivized to help make the token and the ecosystem healthier, more sustainable, and then that leads to funnels and cash flows for us. So yeah, we've been thinking about the Pixel token from a burn first perspective or from a demand first perspective. We've been prepping content for the last 6 months around this Pixel token. And essentially we're thinking about like two different directions when we're thinking about Pixel token burn. We're thinking about one, a set of tooling that we built out where we can use the native Pixel token to charge for it essentially. We've essentially built like a suite of SaaS that allows other users to build out content and build out experiences on our ecosystem. This will be slowly rolling out for the next like 3 to 4 months. We'll be releasing one tool at a time and we'll be charging the Pixel token for this tool. The next thing that we're interested in and what we've been prepping is this new game mechanic built around pets. And we are going to be doing the mints of these NFTs that we're about to release in the Pixel token as well. And then we've also been prepping a whole suite of content around exclusive items, rare drops, and then upgrades in the game that we can denominate in the Pixel token as well. Essentially, we'd like to view it like a hard currency in the game, but again, we're focusing really heavily on the demand side of the token when we're thinking about tokenomics. We want to make sure that this token is useful. We're taking a content-driven approach, but then that's also why we're interested in creating an ecosystem that kind of builds content out for itself. So then when we're thinking about distribution of a token, again, we're really thinking about how we can reward good in-game behavior and reward behavior that grows the ecosystem. So the Pixel token is a cap supply token. And essentially we vest it over the course of 5 years for ecosystem rewards. So we only have a set amount of token that we can actually give away each month. And I like to see this as like our CAC budget or our customer acquisition budget or our ecosystem budget, essentially, where we get to use this token to help grow the ecosystem. That means we need to distribute it in a very precise and targeted way. So there's basically 3 people that we want to be giving this token to. It's people who are building out content in their ecosystem. It's players who are playing and engaging with the game who are likely to spend the token. And then it's ambassadors, people who are sharing the ecosystem, creating new content around game mechanics, and who are sharing on Twitter and social and referring new friends, essentially. So yeah, we've actually reserved a good amount of our token for ecosystem rewards, and that's kind of the whole thing about what we're doing too. We view the benefit of Web3 as being able to grow an ecosystem, and it's extremely important for us to grow it that way. So yeah, in terms of business model, again, there's 2 sides of this, right? There's the token side of things, and then there's the equity side of things. We view tokens as a tool to help build funnels to the equity side of the business. On the equity side of the business, we're really interested mostly in subscriptions. So we offer a subscription in the game right now that's centered around basically premium in-game features. But then there's also some really interesting stuff that we can do to tie that into the token as well. So I really like the idea of basically gating the token to people who earn the token, or gating the token earnings to subscribers or at least setting aside additional pools to subscribers. And then also there's other interesting ways that we can monetize in Web3 too, like transaction fees. If we ever want to do more primary sales outside of the token, and then partnerships as well is a really interesting business to us, essentially charging services for companies that want to be working with us and incorporating IP. But yeah, that's basically the overview of what we're up to and what we're doing here at Pixels. So yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit in and listen. And then, yeah, I'm sure if you guys have any other questions, we can answer that eventually too. I'm in the Discord all of the time. So yeah, feel free to ask me any questions there. And then, yeah, I guess we can dive just like a little bit longer into roadmap as well too. So yeah, in terms of roadmap, we have a lot ready essentially for the TGE. And this is essentially what we've been working towards. For TGE, we have a bunch of content ready. We have pets, we have a UGC marketplace. We actually just released mobile web support. And then the idea is we want to start to slowly release and drip out, this other content we've been working on the back end for the next 4 to 6 months. So things like, more of us tooling around the Realm engine, starting to distribute rewards, creator reward tooling, a mini game built around these pets, a mobile companion app, things like that. But yeah, more than happy to answer questions if you hop into Discord. I'm extremely active in that. Feel free to tag us on Twitter. And yeah, that's just a bit about what we're up to. It's hard to give, a detailed analysis into this, but I hope that makes sense, and appreciate you guys taking the time.